Welcome to the Reunion Podcast, a fictional, imaginative story about an aging Beatles fan. This is the third episode, which is called Karash Zagoria. Again, I have to give you a little disclaimer that this is a work of fiction. Any names or characters, businesses or places, events or incidents are fictitious. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. In the previous episode, Widlowski told Abby about meeting and falling in love with Beata many years ago in communist Zagoria. Abby encouraged him to go back and visit Zagoria, trying to find his old friends and Her Majesty. Widlowski was back in Zagoria. He was carrying a duffel bag flung over his shoulder, walking along the familiar old streets of Grazhk. Perhaps this wasn't the Grazhk of old that he remembered. For the first time in a little over 4 decades, Widlowski took in the scent of Grazhk's air and, for a brief minute, he struggled to simply breathe. That suffocating sensation of the communist regime was gone, long gone, but he could still feel the echoes of it everywhere he looked as he walked along familiar streets. Off in the distance, he could see the uppermost portions of the suspenders of the Tsar Bridge, and it tugged at his heart, even though it wasn't the specific bridge he had spent long hours with Beata walking. The idea of it was enough to remind him of his reason for coming here. So, he ignored the daunting silhouettes of the Grazhk Castle and St. Ioan and Pavel Cathedral, looming high into the skyline of the city on a hill, and walked forward with his head held high and his shoulders square. Tourists and locals rubbed shoulders as they meandered around the streets of Old Town, against the facade of cupcake-colored houses. A warm, inviting atmosphere designed to help people forget the devastation, despair, and fear that had bled through the streets for so many years. Widlowski, however, didn't quite believe in this change, and felt inside that this was a thin cover over the old ways, which were not forgotten, but still present underneath the beautiful yet fake facade. Widlowski strode for the first cell phone kiosk he saw to buy a local microchip. They asked him to provide his passport, which surprised him but at the same time confirmed his suspicion that not everything has changed. He installed the chip and made a local call.
Hello?
Hello. Can I please speak with Beata?
Who?
Beata Novina.
You have the wrong number. I'm sorry, there's no Beata here.
Widlowski said thanks and hung up. For a moment, he seemed disheartened and a little confused. Then he turned into a narrow side street, approached a door, and knocked. Ladislav opened it, outstretched his arms, and grinned ear to ear. He was the same age as Widlowski, but looked like his grandfather, with the long, totally white hair and a heavy beard. His circumference was also impressive, but the spirit was jovial, as it has always been.
Wow! I don't believe it.
Widlowski entered Ladislav's apartment, which was a dingier and smaller version of Widlowski's. He tried and failed to match Ladislav's enthusiasm. He stuck out his hand, but Ladislav wrapped him up in a bear hug.
I missed you, my friend.
I missed you too, Ladislav.
Ladislav kept hugging him.
You can let go now.
Ladislav didn't.
Anytime.
Ladislav gave Widlowski one last squeeze and released him.
Wow, look at you. You look exactly the same. Well, old as shit, but otherwise identical.
He grabbed Widlowski's duffel bag.
I just can't believe it's you.
It's me, I promise. By the way, I brought you some CDs with blues covers of the Beatles. Let's see if you heard this one.
Widlowski got a pack of CDs from his bag and put one into a CD player. They listened to Get Back in Memphis style.